It happens in the quietest moments. You're sitting on the couch, maybe after a long day, your voice soft as you say your dog's name. "Hey, buddy," and suddenly, they do it. Their ears lift slightly. Their eyes lock onto yours. And then, their head tilts. Just a few degrees. But enough to stop you in your tracks. It feels almost human. Like they're trying to understand you. Like they're listening with intention. Like there's something deeper happening behind those eyes. And for a brief second, you wonder what are they really thinking right now? Most dog owners have a simple explanation for this behavior. We tell ourselves it's just curiosity. Or maybe it's confusion. Some even say it's just a cute trick dogs do without any real meaning behind it. We laugh, we grab our phones, we record it. Because it's adorable. Harmless. Innocent. But behavioral science tells a very different story. That small head tilt may actually be one of the most profound signs of connection between humans and dogs. To understand it, we have to step into the mind of a dog. Not as a pet, but as a social, emotional, highly evolved companion species that has spent thousands of years learning how to read us. Dogs don't experience language the way we do. They don't process sentences in structured grammar. They don't interpret meaning through words alone. Instead, they live in a world of patterns. Tone. Facial expressions. Body language. And most importantly, emotional signals. When you speak to your dog, they're not just hearing your words. They're analyzing you. Your pitch. Your rhythm. Your facial movements. Even the subtle tension in your voice. And this is where the head tilt begins to make sense. From a psychological perspective, the head tilt is a moment of heightened attention. It's your dog adjusting their perception, trying to gather more information. Some researchers suggest it may even be a physical adjustment allowing them to better see your face, especially if their muzzle blocks part of their view. But that's only part of the story. Because the deeper truth lies in how dogs process emotional meaning. Studies in animal cognition have shown that dogs are uniquely skilled at reading human emotions. More than almost any other species. In fact, research conducted at the University of Sussex found that dogs can distinguish between happy and angry human expressions, even when only partial facial cues are visible. Another study from Yevush-Lorand University in Hungary discovered that dogs process human speech using both hemispheres of the brain, much like we do. The left hemisphere focuses on familiar words. The right hemisphere processes tone and emotional intent. Which means when you speak to your dog, they're not just hearing you. They're feeling you. And the head tilt may be the moment when their brain is trying to reconcile these two streams of information. Your words, and your emotions. It's a cognitive pause. A silent question. What does this mean, and how should I respond? But there's something even more fascinating happening beneath the surface. Dogs are deeply social animals. Their entire evolutionary success has depended on their ability to form bonds, first with other dogs, and eventually, with us. Thousands of years ago, wolves began approaching human settlements. Not aggressively, but cautiously. The ones that survived were the ones that could read human behavior, understand human signals, adapt to human emotions. Over generations, this created something extraordinary. A species that didn't just coexist with humans, but learned to emotionally synchronize with them. This is why modern dogs are so attuned to us. They don't just observe us. They connect with us. And the head tilt may be one of the clearest expressions of that connection. Because when your dog tilts their head, they're not just trying to hear you better. They're trying to understand you better. There's also a neurological component to this behavior. When dogs engage with their owners, especially during eye contact or vocal interaction, their brains release oxytocin, often referred to as the bonding hormone. The same chemical that strengthens the connection between a mother and her child. A study published in Science demonstrated that when dogs and humans gaze into each other's eyes, both experience a significant increase in oxytocin levels. It's a feedback loop of emotional connection. You look at your dog. They look at you. Both of your brains respond by deepening the bond. Now imagine this happening during a moment of focused attention when you're speaking to your dog and they tilt their head. It's not just a behavioral response. It's a neurochemical event. A moment where attention, emotion, and bonding all converge. And that's why it feels so meaningful. Because it is. But not all dogs tilt their heads equally. Some do it often. Others rarely. And interestingly, a study published in Animal Cognition found that dogs who frequently tilt their heads tend to be better at learning human words and commands. These dogs showed stronger memory recall and higher levels of engagement when interacting with their owners. Which suggests that the head tilt may be linked to cognitive processing. In other words, your dog might be tilting their head because they're thinking. Not in a human sense, but in a way that reflects attention, curiosity, and emotional investment. And then there's attachment. From an attachment psychology perspective, dogs form secure bonds with their owners in ways that closely resemble human-child relationships. They seek proximity. They respond to emotional cues. They use their owners as a source of safety. When you speak to your dog in a calm, affectionate tone, you activate that attachment system. You become their secure base. And the head tilt may be their way of tuning into that connection. Of focusing on you as their emotional anchor. It's subtle. But it's powerful. Because in that moment, your dog isn't distracted by the world. They're fully present with you. Listening. Observing. Connecting. But here's where it gets even more important. Because sometimes, a change in this behavior can signal something deeper. If your dog suddenly stops tilting their head or begins doing it excessively, it may be worth paying attention. In some cases, frequent or persistent head tilting can be linked to medical issues. Inner ear infections. Vestibular disorders. Neurological imbalances. These conditions can affect a dog's sense of balance and spatial orientation. So while occasional head tilting during interaction is normal and often meaningful, a sudden shift in frequency or context should never be ignored. Your dog's behavior is a language. And like any language, changes in patterns can carry important messages. The key is awareness. Not fear. Just observation. Because the more you understand your dog's behavior, the deeper your relationship becomes. And that brings us to the most important insight of all. The head tilt isn't just about hearing. It's not just about vision. And it's not even just about curiosity. It's about connection. It's about a species that has evolved alongside us, not just physically, but emotionally. A species that has learned to read us in ways we're still trying to understand. When your dog tilts their head as you speak, they're not just reacting. They're engaging. They're trying to bridge the gap between your world and theirs. To make sense of your voice, your feelings, your presence. And in doing so, they remind us of something we often forget. That communication isn't just about words. It's about attention, emotion, and the willingness to truly listen. Even across species. So the next time your dog tilts their head, pause. Look back at them. Notice the stillness in their body. The focus in their eyes. Because in that small, quiet gesture, there's a conversation happening. One without language. But full of meaning. And maybe, just maybe, they understand you more than you think. If this made you see your dog a little differently, let me know in the comments. Does your dog tilt their head when you talk to them? And if you want to explore more about the hidden psychology behind your dog's behavior, make sure to subscribe and watch the next video. Because the more you understand them, the deeper your bond becomes.